All right. What's going on, everyone? So I want to talk about Dandadan and Chainsaw Man today. You might have noticed, for all of those lovely people in the chat, I put a goal for super chats. So if we can meet our goal today, I will host a Dandadan tier list this Thursday, our next stream. We got Justin in the chat. Justin, how we doing today? So yeah, we'll give everyone a few minutes, but I kind of want to talk about Dandadan versus Chainsaw Man now that Dandadan, the anime anyway, is almost over. And, the first season is almost over. I kind of want to talk about where the mangas are at right now, where the Dandadan anime is at, versus where Chainsaw Man was at the same time. I am kind of curious. Does anyone know what Dandadan's manga sales look like right now? Where can I find a recent chart? I know it's a bit early. Do I mean how much in circulation? Something like that, yeah. I think it's too early because we still have the last episode this week. We got Eden's in the chat. Eden's, how we doing today? Or just in general, how much is it selling? Probably what it's got in circulation. What's up? What's good? We're talking about Dandadan versus Chainsaw Man today. Because Dandadan is ending this week. It's a lot more popular than I thought it was going to be. And, people have been making the comparisons for as long as Dandadan has been popular. So I kind of want to share my take on it. But first, I want to see what the manga sales are looking like. I think it's too early, though. I don't think we've gotten any numbers yet ever since the anime started. Dandadan is better than Chainsaw Man, respectively. Dandadan is better than Chainsaw Man, slightly disrespectfully. That being said, you can't possibly have the position of Dandadan is better than Chainsaw Man without acknowledging how Tatsu got to where he is. Like, obviously, if you work for somebody as a coworker, as an assistant, whatever, obviously you are going to learn from them and you're going to incorporate what you like about them in your own stuff. Obviously, in that relationship, it's not like you absolutely idolize the person and copy everything they do. And it's not like you wouldn't have gotten where you are without that person, right? Like, if Tatsu had worked for somebody else, I'm sure he would have been just as popular. But you have to acknowledge that were it not for the opportunity that he had, we don't know where he would be today or what kind of manga he would be creating today. So as much as I say I like Dandadan a lot more than Chainsaw Man, I also have to respect where Tatsu came from and how his background influenced where he is today. Dandadan has increased from 4 million with 16 volumes to 5 million with 17 volumes. So that means in roughly 2 months, it did 1 million volumes in circulation. That's crazy. I mean, that's insane. Dandadan's what, like 4 years old, 5 years old? Now, that being said, right, that's not outrageous. I mean, I think let's do some numbers here. Also, can somebody link where they got that chart? I need more Tatsu interviews like the one they showed for the Dandadan movie premiere. Yeah, I wish... Tatsu is actually fairly active on Twitter. He is part of this new trend of younger mangaka being active on Twitter and like sharing their art and their opinions, right? That being said, he doesn't really open up a lot about the behind the scenes stuff. And, you know, it's not like he's doing SBS interviews. So it's a lot harder to kind of gauge where he's at outside the context of the manga. But I am kind of curious. Let's see, in the absence of someone sending me recent manga, volumes, circulation. Here we go. Anime and manga news. So the Twitter account Anime and Manga News, apparently Dandadan has reached 5 million copies in circulation with 16 volumes, but they don't link to any kind of article. So I don't know where they got that information, but we can use that as a good gauge. If that's true. Again, I'm not really... Let's try... Dandadan volumes circulation. No, I'm not finding. Let's try. So, at the very least, it has over 4 million copies in circulation. Do you want me to send it to you on Twitter? You can, like, at me in a tweet on Twitter, or if you just want to share it in the chat, put the link in the chat, and I can open it in the chat. That would probably be the easiest way to do it. But that being said, so that's 5 million. Let's assume 5 million with 17 volumes. So now let's look at Chainsaw Man. Chainsaw Man volumes circulation. Let's see what we got. It's in the chat. I'm not seeing it in the chat. It might have blocked it because it's a link. That's okay though. I'm going to assume that 5 million is the accurate number. So that being said, Chainsaw Man has reached 27. So this was back in May of this year. Also, thank you to Jalen for the subscription. Glad to have you aboard. So back in May, Chainsaw Man was at 17 volumes and it hit 27 million copies in circulation. Yeah, I got blocked. Yeah, that's unfortunate. It's okay though. So let's talk about that. So with the copies in circulation thing, that's not a measure of pure sales. That's just how many copies they're printing. Edens, I got your tweet, by the way. Thank you. I think that's the one I saw before. I was trying to look for an article saying or confirming that it got 5 million. What was I trying to say? Oh, so with the whole volumes or the copies in circulation thing, that's not a metric of pure sales. That is how many they've printed. So let's see, Edens, what do you have here? There's multiple accounts because this is a different account from what I saw. So I'm going to assume that this is true because I've seen 2 different accounts say this. Anyway. Thank you. Thank you, Justin. I'm assuming that's you, Justin. Matter Zero over on Twitter. That was like a week or 2 ago. Okay, cool. Anyway, my point being, Chainsaw Man is actually at 29 million as of the end of November. My bad. No, it's okay, man. I appreciate you guys helping me out here. I'm glad I have you guys to, kind of look this stuff up for me. It definitely helps. Anyway, bottom line, because I've been on the same point for like 5 minutes now. When you see the whole copies and circulation thing, you do kind of have to keep in context that like Fujimoto is a proven veteran. And so Shueisha is going to have more confidence in his abilities and his ability to sell a story. And the way you measure that confidence is marketing, but also how many copies they print. I have a cute voice. Oh, well, well, thank you. Making me blush. No, I'm kidding. Thank you. Anyway, so they obviously have a lot of faith in a guy like Fujimoto, even if it's not consistently selling volumes. They know that eventually people are gonna buy them. Like, it's Fujimoto, it's Chainsaw Man. Let's just print them and people will buy them. With Dandadan, although Tatsu worked for Fujimoto, he is not a proven veteran. This is his first serialization, and so he does not have the same kind of resume as Fujimoto. So, that being said, given that context, there's still a huge gap in between the volumes for Chainsaw Man and the volumes for Dandadan. Even if you consider that Tatsu, I actually want to look this up now. What year did Chainsaw Man start? It started in 2018. Okay. So when did Dandadan start? ...2021. So Chainsaw Man has a 3-year head start on Dandadan, roughly. Should have been 2019. Okay, I might be wrong. Let me see. Its first arc was serialized in Weekly Shonen Jump from, it says December 2018. So maybe that was the 2019 year. Let me see. Do I like Saint Seiya? I have not read it yet. Chainsaw Man used to sell 400,000, I'm guessing, per year. Now 200,000 per per volume. And now this latest volume is soon going to sell less than 200,000. Dandadan sells around 80 to 100 in a full month, while Chainsaw Man around 200,000 in a full month. Yeah, so I mean, Dandadan seems like it's roughly in the same ballpark as Chainsaw Man now. Obviously Chainsaw Man has made more money, gross revenue wise. But I mean, I have to think Dandadan, at least if we're just talking about like mainstream popularity, in that regard, it's at least as popular as Chainsaw Man. Whether we like to admit it or not, Chainsaw Man's anime debut was a mixed bag because it was very popular those first few weeks, and then I feel like it kind of just like not fell off, but like couldn't really hold everyone's attention. Was still a great first season, but by the end of that first season, you know, the discourse wasn't quite there anymore. Whereas with Dandadan, excuse me, obviously massively popular. It's easily been one of the most talked about anime of the year, never mind of this season. And we're on episode 12 as of this Thursday, and I still feel like everyone's talking about it. I mean, not everyone is watching it, but I feel like it's been like the topic of the community for 12 straight weeks. So just by, well, thank you, Brat, for the subscription. Always love YouTube names. Just by like gut feeling, just by like the general vibe in the community, Dandadan on a very basic level feels like it's made its mark right next to Chainsaw Man. So then we get into a question of, okay, it's proved itself. It blew away expectations. So now the question is, you know, right? We're in this My Hero Black Clover sort of space, right? Where, you know, you got two manga in the same space, very similar stories, similar fan bases, right? So the question is, which one's better? Excuse me. Dandadan is now the 4th most popular manga read on the Japanese Jump Plus app, just behind Kaiju at 3rd, Oshinoko at 2nd, and Spy Family at 1st, and has surpassed Chainsaw Man Part 2 and has become 4th. Top 5 were always locked on and doesn't change much, and for the last 2 years, the top 5 were unbeatable. They were always pretty much Spy Family, Oshinoko, Kaiju, Chainsaw Man, and Dandadan. So, is this on the Manga Plus app, or is this the Jump Plus app just for Japan? Because I'm pretty sure those are two different things. So those are like the numbers, right? And of course, in like a month or two from now, or 6 months from now, we can talk about Blu-ray sales for the anime, right? We can get a better look at a spike in copies in circulation. Okay, so just the Jump Plus app for Japan, thank you. Because that is a big difference. Because obviously, the whole wide world uses Manga Plus versus just Jump Plus. They have their own app, right? Exactly. We don't get a Jump Plus app. We have Manga Plus, which is all the Shueisha stuff, right? Not just one magazine. It's like all their Shueisha stuff. We have the Viz app, which is not exclusively Shueisha. That's other magazines. And then we have the Shonen Jump app, which has weekly Shonen Jump and then whatever stuff from other magazines that they decide to put on that app. So let's start the discussion like this. I actually want to see where people feel on this. Excuse me. So the question is, which is better, Dandadan or Chainsaw Man? And this is anime or manga. All right, this is open to everybody, regardless of whether you've just seen the anime, just read the manga, or you prefer one version over the other, right? Just a general census. Also, big thank you to everyone that has liked the stream. That's a big help. Helps spread the video, and it lets me know that you're enjoying the discussion. Can't say I read both, since I've only heard rumors and discussions. So, excuse me. So, let me say this. If you ask me, which one do I think is better? And first of all, let's just make sure we're clear. I'm not about the whole like, well, which one is objectively better? We have to talk about what is objectively a good manga versus what I like. No, that's not a thing. What makes a manga a good manga is whatever you like. It's always going to be subjective. So that being said, if you ask me, the first thing I'm going to talk about is my reading experience with both manga. And with these two manga, it's already neck and neck because, pardon me 1 second. All right, sorry about that, everyone. So like I was saying, I have to figure out where we were. No. Okay, here we go. So if I'm talking about my reading experience, right, I'm already neck and neck because more than any other manga, Chainsaw Man and Dandadan are like realistically the only two manga that over the past year I consistently read every week, like the second they came out. And especially with these two manga, they were really the only manga that I was like dying to read. Like on Sunday or Saturday, I was like, all right, I need that Chainsaw Man chapter. I need that Dandadan chapter. So all of that considered, even acknowledging that, if I'm being honest with myself, it wasn't until maybe this summer that I felt that way about Chainsaw Man Part 2. I had always felt that way for a while, but I think everyone can agree that there's a general point in the story where it kind of dips off, and you can confirm this if you're on Twitter or Reddit, whatever. Everyone was kind of like, yeah, I'm just not feeling Chainsaw Man lately. Everyone was kind of in the same boat of like, I'm just going to let it build up. Even some people going as far to say that part 2 had fallen off. Then around the point where they go to rescue Denji in the prison is where people started to say that it was coming back. That was when people were like, okay. But for like half of 2024, I was not in a super huge rush to read Chainsaw Man. I read it every week, but like I would take my time. Whereas with Dandadan, for 52 weeks or 45 weeks, however many chapters we got this year, every single Monday, I read Dandadan within like an hour or two of that chapter dropping. Dandadan has been so good. And so this is another point. So if you ask me which one do I like better, the first thing I'm going to tell you is, well, if I'm being honest, I was in a bigger rush to read Dandadan every week than I was Chainsaw Man. So then your follow-up question would be something like, okay, well, you know, why do you think that is, right? Like, they're both pretty good, right? So my follow-up would be, well, look at the pacing for these stories in the last year or two. Look at, like, how the arcs in each story have built off of each other. Chainsaw Man in the last year or two was in a very weird spot where recently we've got all this cool stuff with Denji and Black Chainsaw Man and, you know, Fami and Asa. But prior to that, we were in this very weird spot with all the factions and the Chainsaw Man Church. And it was like, you know, for a solid 3 months at least, people were like, dude, what the hell is this guy doing with this story? And I get it. Chainsaw Man pacing, it always works out in the end, which I would agree. I would definitely say that it seems like this is gonna, you know, work out in the end. But in that week-to-week experience, man, at one point I was not pushing for Chainsaw Man. I was just like, yeah, I'm gonna let Fujimoto cook, but I'm gonna step out of the kitchen. But with Dandadan is a completely, like, night and day different story. I mean, every week of Dandadan, I was dying. I actually want to take a look and see where these manga were as of January of this year. Give me 1 second. Okay, let's see. check out Shonen Jump. Let's open this up. Hold, please. Nope, that's not what I want. Hold on. There we go. So, okay. So January 9th, in Chainsaw Man, we were on chapter 152. So chapter 152 brings us all the way back to the scene with Nayuta and Denji in Nayuta's house burning down. So that was a while ago. So that means in the last year or so, we started out with the whole Nayuta thing, right? Then, so we've had almost 40 chapters. Less than that. So then, like, roughly 10 chapters in the spring. We're at the stuff where they're rescuing Denji. So, for the most part, I would say in the winter, it was, good. But from the spring onward, Chainsaw Man was pretty good. And then I'd say ever since like the fall of this year, Chainsaw Man has been like consistently good back to back for the most part. But now let's talk about, if I'm not mistaken, if we look at where Dandadan was in January, I think we were wrapping up. No. In January, I think we were either in the middle of or wrapping up the whole cursed board game or cursed toy chest arc. So chapter 135 was January 1st. And that was almost the very start of the whole board game thing. So that would mean in the winter and spring of this year was the whole board game thing with Ouji. And then we get Saint Germain, which was a huge chapter. So let's talk about, if we go to April, chapter 148, that's still all the Ouji stuff. If we go to July 29th, so July 29th, as a matter of fact, was the Dandadan double spread dropped by Count Saint Germain, which is, probably one of the most iconic chapters in the series. So that's the end of July. So then after that has been this whole deal with Koki and the nurse and trying to figure out what's going on with Count Saint Germain. So I mean, obviously the whole cursed board game thing wasn't as big as, that big alien battle prior. But I mean, it's a really good arc. I mean, fantastic arc. And then of course everything after that with Count Saint Germain has been so intense, right? And every week we're like, okay, what are we gonna find out about this guy next? Because clearly he's got something going on. So again, to come back to to come back to this question of which one do I like better, Dandadan or Chainsaw Man, the first thing I'm going to say is, well, I read both every week, but I'm really dying to read Dandadan, whereas with Chainsaw Man, there are those weeks where I'm like, I might skip it. I might come back to it. So then you think about why that is, and for like half the year, right? So I'd say from the summer of this year, so like maybe July to where we are now, Chainsaw Man has been like addictively good. But prior to that, it was, all right. Nothing crazy. But Dandadan has been nonstop, balls to the wall, insane chapters, gorgeous art, great new characters, great fights, intense, exciting, adventurous, hilarious, romance, mysterious, suspenseful. So it's like, is it like crazy better than what Chainsaw Man did this year? No. But if you're reading Chainsaw Man every week and you're reading Dandadan every week, I think most people are going to feel like that at least this year, Dandadan was just the more consistently exciting story. I mean, talk about great new characters. Obviously, Chainsaw Man had the return of some characters, and it introduced some new characters. It introduced some new characters. But if you look at the new characters that we met in Dandadan, we got Ouji, we got Count Saint Germain. Well, he wasn't brand new. We had seen him before, but this was like his debut. We got Koki. We got the return of Queen Sensei. So it's like, come on, man. It wasn't like this huge gap, but I think we can all agree that Dandadan just had the better year. What's going on? How are you doing? Pleasure to have you. The reveal of the nurse. Right, exactly. She came back, but then we found out that she has spiritual powers, so to speak. Check out Mugen's comment. The first ever popularity poll was revealed yesterday. Yeah, I was kind of surprised, honestly. I do want to point out in a respectful way, it's not that it's not Kubo's old art style was generic, but he was barely getting started with this manga, plus his old style felt more natural. Okay. We're not really talking about Bleach. Not really sure which comment. Did I see the new Lord of the Rings movie? I have not. I really wanted to go see it last week, but it just didn't happen. But then I saw this weekend that apparently people don't really like the new Lord of the Rings movie. I haven't seen any terrible reviews, but as far as like, Rotten Tomato scores and like just quick Google searches, I think the best I've seen is like a 7 out of 10, which honestly is kind of what I was expecting. I was expecting it to be a decent story that looks cool animated, but not really something you would ever really rewatch. Mugen, I'll read your comment, but we're not really talking about Bleach. I do want to point out in a respectful way, it's not Kubo's old art style was generic, but he was barely getting started with this manga, plus his old style felt more natural in a time warp way. People take what I said in that video way out of context. I am not saying when I call early Bleach generic, right? But if you compare what Bleach looked like in the beginning, first of all, to what it looks like later, the later stuff has so much more distinctiveness to it. It looks so much more unique. And especially if you compare early Bleach to all those other 2000s manga, it just looks so much like all the 2000s manga without doing as much to stand out. Like, if you had zero context and you compared volume 1 of Bleach to volume 1 of Shaman King, volume 1 of Shaman King looks so much more unique compared to volume 1 of Bleach. But of course, then everyone takes that out of context and they think I hate the old Bleach art style, which is not what I'm saying at all. You can say it's better than Ring of Power. Yeah, I never watched Ring of Power. I'm not like big on all this extended universe stuff because while I don't think you can never have all these like extended Lord of the Rings stories, I do think it's really hard to do with Tolkien not being around and not making new stuff. So if you are going to do that sort of thing, it's got to be like really in character. Not necessarily canon. Not everything has to be canon. But it's got to be like really, it's got to feel like Lord of the Rings. It's got to feel like the books, not just the movies. The movies are only an adaptation, but it's got to feel like the books. And I feel like it's just Warner Brothers really milking that cash cow, which sometimes it works and sometimes it really does not work. Seems Lord of the Rings is best for hardcore fans but not great for casual viewers. I would have to look at the reviews, but if I'm speaking from experience, I've talked to like 10-year-olds, right? Like younger kids, the kids of the next generation or the upcoming generation. They don't really care about Lord of the Rings. They care about Marvel. They care about... They don't even care about Star Wars. They care about Fortnite and they care about Marvel. So if you're trying to get kids, that's the thing, right? Movie... This is a whole nother conversation, but if you're trying to sell movie tickets, you gotta get kids to go see it. That's just bottom line. You gotta get kids to take their parents to go see the movie. I didn't mean that in a chip in the shoulder way because he was inspired by Kubo. Are we talking about Fujimoto or Tatsu? The thing about that Lord of the Rings movie is I could definitely see it appealing to kids, but, you know, in an age where like almost no one goes to the movies, if it's just another Lord of the Rings movie, and especially like if you need to know all this stuff about Lord of the Rings to really like the movie, kids aren't going to go see that. Between Dandadan and Solo Leveling, who is winning Anime of the Year, my guess is Dandadan. I do not see anyone pushing the Solo Leveling agenda at all. I could be totally wrong. If you go on YouTube, all the trailers and stuff for Solo Leveling get a ton of views. And when Solo Leveling is releasing weekly episodes, it's one of the front page anime on Crunchyroll. But I also saw a ton of mixed reviews for the first season. So that's going to be 50-50 if you ask me. Yeah. So I'm confused by that. Can someone explain this to me? Is this the first year that they're including fall anime? Because I know Frieren was a last year's fall anime, so that's why it's on this year's Crunchyroll Awards. But this year, are they now starting to include fall anime? And that's why Dandadan is also on the list? Because don't they usually exclude that fall season? Who do I think will win anime opening of the year? Dandadan, Bleach, or One Piece? Probably Dandadan, honestly. That Dandadan opening was pretty popular. And it still is. What are my thoughts on Togashi's art style? Is he bad artist because his art is simple? His art is simple sometimes, but then it's very detailed in other parts. So I think he's incredibly talented. You can critique the art style, but I would never say he's a bad artist. Yeah, this is the first year they're doing the fall season. They usually do exclude fall season until the recent announcement. I mean, that's great. I hated what they did before. I thought it was silly and it never made sense to me. But because of that, now we're in this weird boat where now we have to decide between Dandadan and Frieren when Frieren came out a year ago. I should read Lord of the Mysteries. What is that about? Mashal OP. Did Mashal come out last fall? Also, let's end the poll and see where we're at. So out of 32 votes, which is a pretty good sample size, we got 56% for Dandadan and 43% for Chainsaw Man. So, yeah, I think it's pretty safe to say that out of people who read both Dandadan and Chainsaw Man, or out of people who like both Chainsaw Man and Dandadan, at least in the past year, everyone likes Dandadan better. And the numbers reflect the general vibe of, you know, it's not a crazy margin. Like, again, if you ask me, I'm probably one of the more extreme people. And even then, I don't really feel like Dandadan is crazy better than Chainsaw Man. Not even in this year. But if you put a gun to my head, I'm probably going to pick Dandadan 9 times out of 10. If Dandadan loses to Frieren, hopefully it can win with Core 2 in 2025. Yeah, but I believe Frieren is coming back next year, if I'm not mistaken. I don't know that they've come out with a release date, but considering next fall would make it 2 years, I'm pretty sure it'll come back later, the later part of 2025. We got a subscription from Ghetto's #1 fan. Thank you for the subscription. I think Dandadan is better if you want to enjoy the story and have fun time. But if you want story and other aspects, it goes to Chainsaw Man. It's hard to make a definitive statement like that. Only because Dandadan and Chainsaw Man at like a fundamental level are two different kinds of stories. But that being said, if you ask me, Dandadan is just more fun to read. They're both very silly stories and they both have very compelling characters. But I feel like Chainsaw Man, especially in part 2 right now, can kind of get over serious, I guess, or over convoluted. Whereas with Dandadan, it has all this crazy bullshit and yet stays simple. Like, the formula is very simple. Whereas with Chainsaw Man, either in the winter and spring of this year or in the later part of 2023, I was like, dude, what the hell is Fujimoto doing? I have no idea what's going on in this story. And again, this is about part 2. If we were comparing just part 1 and Dandadan, I think that would be a different discussion. Okay. Lord of the Mysteries, did you say? Lord of the Mysteries? Is that a manga? I'll definitely have to check that out. Thank you for the recommendation. And by all means, to everyone in chat, if you ever have a random recommendation, feel free to share it with me and I'll add it to my list. Which anime do I believe should get a remake? I believe Soul Eater should get a remake. I believe Soul Eater desperately needs a remake. Not because the original anime is bad, but because, well, I can't really say too much, but the original anime does not fully adapt the manga, and also, it's the next year or so will be the perfect time to announce an anime remake, and that's all I'm gonna say. Oh, it's a web novel? Okay. Well, still, thank you for the recommendation. So that's another great way of putting Dandadan versus Chainsaw Man. The thing I love about Dandadan is that you don't know what the F is going on, but you kind of do. I feel like that's the perfect example. See, Justin knows what I'm talking about. Justin, I'm going to let you say that, and that'll be the end of that one. With Chainsaw Man, though, you don't know what's going on, and sometimes you do. It's kind of like a back and forth thing. Anyway, that's all I really have to say on the topic. I didn't realize how excited I was about this topic. I'm not going to lie. This was meant to be a more casual shoot the shit moment, and I got way too excited talking about the comparison. So I might have to do a video next month. Not sure. We'll see. But that being said, suggest some best psychological drama, anime, or manga that can read. Season 1 of Psychopaths, and then don't watch anything else of Psychopaths, just season 1. Anyway, obviously this was a great discussion. Great turnout for the stream, excuse me. We'll have to pick this back up in a month or so when we start to see what the manga sales look like for Dandadan. And especially after the Blu-rays come out, because I'm sure we'll get Blu-rays. I'll answer Justin's question and then I'll wrap this up. Ouji, do I think Shueisha will ask Tatsu to do a series in Weekly Shonen Jump? I absolutely think so. Dandadan is too good, and it's been too popular in Jump Plus. I don't necessarily think it has to be Weekly Shonen Jump, but I do think they'll ask him to do another serialization either in Weekly Shonen Jump or in Jump Plus. Also Jump Festive this weekend, apparently. Thank you, Justin. Definitely looking forward to all that good news. But Thursday we are going to do, I'm pretty sure we're going to do our final Dr. Stone catch-up stream. We're going to read the last 5 or 6 chapters of Core 1 in the manga. And then that'll leave us with, I believe, 2 weeks before Season 1 starts, because Season 1 starts on January 9th, I believe. It's the second Thursday of January. I know that. But anyway, thank you for all the great discussion, everyone. Thank you for all the great comments, input. Thank you for all the help with sales charts, Twitter links, all that good stuff. Hopefully I see you Thursday. But until then, I look forward to hearing from you soon.